Anybody else ready to just sort of start 2026 over?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being every day because you help make Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. There he is. And we appreciate you. I went to the game last night. Jimmy went to the game last night. Saw several of you that watched the show, reached out. We'll talk about you guys in a bit, talk about the game in a bit. Still gathering thoughts from that. Meanwhile, the portal is still portaling, and it won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. And Alabama, as we were about to go live, not live, I mean recorded live. We're live. You're not watching it.
We're live. Y'all aren't watching it live, but we're live right now as we record this.
It's unbelievable. You just found out, and it was just reported that we have offered a offensive lineman. Everybody was worried about that. The only problem is he's from Cal Poly. Now, he's got some nice offers. He's got some nice size. But, Jimmy, talk us all off the ledge.
Well, first of all, he's from Cal Poly, which is an FCS school in the Big Sky Conference, which is the coolest of all the FCS conferences, the Big Sky. And sure, I mean, people are going to make assumptions just based on that alone, and that's fair. And I don't think expectations for a player coming out of FCS should be high, but several things to know here. Number one, Alabama needs depth in the room. Let's say he shows up and isn't good enough to start. Okay, they need depth in the room. There's not enough. You want an absolute minimum of 15 offensive linemen on scholarship, an absolute minimum of 15. Right now, Alabama's got around 11. So they need multiple guys just really to practice. So set your expectations there. If he ends up challenging for a starting position, maybe that's gravy, but guess what? He might. If I told you guys, the same ones that immediately write him off because he's FCS or Cal Poly, what if I told you guys, okay, he had no scholarship offers coming out of high school. He's really a wide receiver, but they think he's going to gain a little size, so they're going to make him a tight end. And he just redshirted because he's putting on weight, and he's from Hollywood, but he didn't do anything his redshirt year. None of you would be interested in that guy whatsoever at Cal Poly. And that guy I'm describing is Josh Cuevas, who just left here, one of our better football players and a guy we couldn't have really survived without this season. Yeah, Josh Cuevas is a Cal Poly guy, even more lightly recruited than Racin Delgattt, who's by the way, this new guy, Racin Delgattt, super cool name. He is a center guard. He is about 6'4", 310 now. Per one site, I don't know that we could write this down as gospel. He's played 1,300 snaps in 2 years and has given up 1 sack. So combined with that, his size, and the fact that he could be a late bloomer, this is definitely worth a gamble. Michigan, UCLA, Colorado, Baylor, they're all recruiting him. So I see this as a legitimate FBS prospect, and Alabama needs the help. If you want to talk about immediate starter type help, Tim Watts over at BOL has predicted Ty Haywood to eventually sign with Alabama. That's a guy that even though he redshirted a year ago at Michigan, he will be an immediate contender to start at either tackle or guard, and is exactly what we need because in addition to the depth, Alabama needs starters. You really only have 2 starters returning in Michael Carroll and Will Sanders, who never started a game, but Will Sanders played a lot of first-team snaps. Boy, Alabama needs help on the offensive line. I know we're about to talk about Cam Coleman and a bunch of other stuff, but the offensive line is the emergency. It's an emergency situation insofar as how I'm looking at it.
First of all, you made that sentence too long. Alabama just needs help. It's whenever you do a podcast or you're a moderator or people look at you as somebody that tweets and they look at you in that vein, they automatically feel like you're blowing smoke every time you try and mention anything positive. And it's getting harder to mention positives right now without looking like we're blowing smoke. That's the only problem. I'm not down in the dumps. I think everything's going to be okay. But I will say this portal season has been very disappointing to me. I would also expect it has been very disappointing to this staff. When you look at things like what happened with Hollywood Smothers, part of me is saying, hey, just cut that dude loose. I mean, I don't want to deal with that. And I mean, if he's the kind of guy that'll do this when he's already at Alabama taking classes, what's he going to do when the game's on the line in the fourth quarter against Tennessee? Part of me wants to cut him loose. And then part of me is like, well, you cut him loose, guess what? Somebody's going to get him. It's not like everybody takes this moral high ground anymore. That's been the case, the rolling snowball effect of everything. At first it was, well, I don't want to take a guy who doesn't want to work that hard. And then somebody else would take him and say, well, he's so good that I'm going to give him a little special treatment. Then it's, I don't want to take a guy who's going to cost that much money. Somebody else will pay for him. And then he comes back to bite you in the butt. You would love for these situations to be more like a Remember the Titans-esque movie where if you take the moral high ground somehow, and then, or like Wildcats. Remember the movie Wildcats when they wouldn't pay the money for whatever the big guy's name. And, anyway, that's a bad analogy. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Is that the movie Goldie Hawn was the coach?
Goldie Hawn was the coach, yeah.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is you can either get on board with this or you're probably going to get run over with it. And maybe we need to change our strategy somehow. I don't know. This portal season has been disappointing. I will say this, though. I'm willing to bet most everybody's kind of disappointed with their portal season so far. I mean, for example, I know Auburn's got a lot of portal additions. You can't tell me they're fired up about a lot of these guys. You just can't. I know Auburn people. You can't convince me. Because if you bring everybody over from South Florida, guess what you got? South Florida. So, I'm not saying all of them are bad. I'm saying some of them are just like this Cal Poly guy, where you're probably just a piece. You're not the piece. And I guess that's okay. Maybe that should make me feel better. Texas has missed on several players. And I'm willing to bet Texas doesn't feel like they've had a winner of a portal season. Yep. I don't even know what a winning portal season looks like anymore.
I mean, even at Texas, which we say, hey, there's the school, they spend all this money, and we look at Texas as like, unfairly competing with everyone else. Well, they wanted to improve their running back room. So all their current running backs, most of whom were really highly regarded, highly recruited guys, left because they wanted to sign Isaac Brown out of Louisville. Guess what happened? They didn't sign Isaac Brown out of Louisville. He was considered the number one back that's going into the portal and a big thing. And Isaac Brown remained at Louisville instead of signing with Texas. So now Texas wakes up and they have no backs because all their backs left in anticipation of Isaac Brown arriving. So that's why they got desperate and aggressive. And that aggression led them to Raleek Brown and then ultimately Hollywood Smothers. I'm not optimistic how that's going to work out for Alabama. I've almost mentally moved on there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, running back, I'm not as concerned about as other spots. I know some of you probably are, but I couldn't be more excited about E.J. Crowell. I'm excited about A.K. Deer's potential. I think Daniel Hill and Kevin Riley could be better players if you do better around them than they showed. I don't think Alabama's broke at running back, but they are pretty broke at offensive line. I'm certainly with Luke not blowing smoke. I'm disappointed in how the portal has worked out to this point. I'm willing to ride it out because the portal isn't over yet. As a matter of fact, it's going to remain open for another week and then even some additional days for the teams that are still playing. But other players who aren't in the portal could still crawl into the portal. And again, there's thousands of unsigned players in the portal. So I'm willing to ride this out. But yeah, it has been disappointing to this point. Final thing, though, I do want people to remember, we are re-signing the players on the team. I know y'all don't think of Zabian Brown as a free agent in the portal or Dijon Lee as a free agent in the portal. The only difference is they're not in the portal. but they're free agents. They're free agents, and they had to be re-recruited and re-signed. And they're getting offers just like the kids in the portal. You don't have to, I mean, these kids are getting offers exactly like the kids in the portal, even though they're not in the portal. So we're having to re-recruit, give them all rate, everyone that's valued, that's getting these offers, we have to give raises to. And again, we need to be considering about re-signing all the start. We had to re-sign Keelan, had to re-sign Austin Mack. They're getting new deals because they're now considered, contenders to start. Michael Carroll, and a lot of guys on the team, we had to rework their deals. And I know we don't consider that part of portal news, but the fact of the matter is it really is portal news because we had to do that to keep them out of the portal.
I wonder if there is a place that you can see who has re-signed with the team. Now, I've seen plenty of portal places where you say this guy is either committed or signed or whatever. And obviously, there's a big difference between being committed and signed, as Hollywood Smothers is teaching us. But I wonder if there's a place where we can see who on the team is re-signed. And I know this. I know, I was super excited to have Peter Nataro on the team. He is transferred to West Virginia. For those who don't know, I went to high school with his mom. His mom, super person. I'm friends with her. And I reached out to her as soon as Peter got in the portal. I was like, where is he going? And she, didn't respond to me for a bit. And then she finally did, just as it was announced, I guess yesterday or 2 days ago, that he's going to West Virginia. She goes, look, I couldn't tell anybody what was going on. She goes, and we still love Alabama and sort of wish it had worked out there, but she didn't go into specifics, but it made me feel like, that this was not necessarily, he doesn't feel like he's going to get a chance. There were probably some other things at play here to advantage him, and so be it. But I would love to have a site that shows us, all right, these are the guys on the team who have re-signed. I want to ask you another question when we come back about when can we start make this start making sense from an everybody perspective? Right now, though, I want to tell you about FanDuel. The college football playoff is here. It's almost over. And FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game of the playoffs. Because right now, every college football playoff game day, FanDuel gets users a profit boost waiting for them in the app. Here's what I love about it. You get to use the profit boost on the bets on the bets you already feel good about. Ride with the favorite when you think a team is controlling that matchup. Take a shot on the underdog if you feel an upset brewing. Or build a parlay around the players and the moments you think decide the game. Then you apply the profit boost and go after even bigger winnings. What? And when you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost every game day. Jimmy Stein guarantee. So that'd be kind of, I want somebody to be named Guarantee. And it's spelled guarantee, but you pronounce, because I saw somebody in the portal today, his name is Dicey. I was like, what? That's both dicey, like, I don't know what's coming up with him, or dicey, like that dude's iced out. I like both of them.
Our Cal Poly dude's got a pretty cool name, Racin Delgattt.
That is a good name. That sounds like a verb of something you're doing at a place called Delgattt. What are you doing this weekend? I'm racing Delgattt. On foot? I don't know. Yeah. Crawling. Anyway, okay, so I have an idea about the portal. Tell me if this could possibly work. I'm totally spitballing. This just came to me, so excuse the dumbness. I was thinking about like a Hollywood Smothers situation, right? And or really any situation where you think you have a guy and then that guy gets in the portal, like the thing with Washington and whoever was tampering the most, I think LSU. I wonder if like you could say, all right, here's the deal. When we have a dude that goes in the portal, wherever he goes, you've got to give that school that maybe they're like 10 players you can mark this way, almost like franchise tags. And you can say, if this guy leaves our team and you get him, you can have him and it'll cost you a scholarship, obviously, but we also get one of your scholarships. like a trade. So let's say Alabama loses Keelan Russell, and he's marked as a quote-unquote franchise player, whatever you want to call him in college. And let's say that Tennessee is like, we just got to have Keelan Russell. We'll overpay. We'll do what we got to do. So Tennessee can get him, and that's fine. And Alabama's heartbroken, and it sucks. And I love Keelan Russell as much as anybody on this earth right now. It's very sad. But so he goes to Tennessee. Tennessee has to use a scholarship for him, and we get one of Tennessee's scholarships. So we also free up the scholarship that Keelan left, and we get one of Tennessee. So instead of having X amount of scholarships, we now got X plus one scholarship, and Tennessee has X minus one scholarship. Now, you can say that's stupid. Nobody's ever going to agree to it. Maybe not. And I doubt anybody will ever agree to any kind of compensation on this when we have 130 some odd teams in Division One or the bowl subdivision. But what's going to ultimately happen is I think that we're going to have far fewer teams competing for a national championship, whatever, if that number is 48, 64, whatever it is. And then maybe we can come upon some rules, because it isn't right for, and it's, I'm not mad, please, I'm only using this, Auburn fans, just listen to me. It isn't right that Auburn can come just take every single player from South Florida away from South Florida, no matter how good they are. And then South Florida's got to do like 3 times the work, and they lost their whole coaching staff. There's something wrong with that. And if you were Auburn and let's say that Ohio State took your coach and then took all your players, you'd feel the same way. And as an Alabama fan, I feel the same way either way. I don't mind the transfer portal. What we're doing is not even – it's almost news when somebody stays, you know?
Well, for as bad as we feel about the portal at Alabama, I can tell you that the programs that I will call downstream, they're doing much worse. For instance, my poor South Alabama Jaguars, I follow them a little bit. The moment that one player of theirs does really well in a game or has a good season, he's gone. He's gone. They're never going to have more than one season of a good player. I mean, because that player is always going to leave for actual money, because the South Alabama type programs can't pay any NIL approaching or any rev share approaching what they can at the SEC schools and the SEC level. So it's worse for those type schools. And frankly, when I say downstream, you know what's downstream of the SEC and the Big Ten is the ACC and the Big 12. You know, their guys leave because they want to play in the SEC and the Big Ten. Why? There's more money in the SEC and the Big Ten than there is even in the ACC and the Big 12. NC State, we're now recruiting Noah Rogers, one of their better wide receivers. We'd already signed Hollywood Smothers. Everyone's trying to sign Jacarius Peak. You know, if you think it's a mess at Alabama, imagine what the NC State message boards look like. They're losing all of their good players, and they don't.
Well, and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So here to advocate for the little guy. You know that. You know I'm a blue blood. Like, I want to see the best play the best. I don't love the James Madison stories. I think it's cute for a minute, but then I want them to move on. In the end, I want to see the best on best. And it's not right. I mean, just if you're NC State, you're almost in the worst position, because you're not good enough to really ever compete in most people's eyes, unless you stumble upon a Kirk Cignetti, which obviously doesn't happen very often, considering Indiana was the worst D1 program there was until he got there. It doesn't happen often. So you're not good enough to really compete. You're also just good enough to where the smaller programs are like, hey, why go to NC State and go to the, Circle K Bowl when you can come here, be a superstar, make a little bit more money, and still go to the Circle K Bowl? So they're in as bad a position as anybody. NC State is. All right, well, maybe there is no solution to this. Every time I think okay, I think I got something on this transfer portal. Well, you can't limit the number of transfers, because that's the whole thing, is the kids have freedom to go wherever. So you can't say, all right, your team can only have 10 transfers, the first 10 to get in the portal leave. You can't do that. No. You can't do that. That's not legal, period.
Ultimately, this is going to be solved. Ultimately, I only see one solution right now, and this solution also opens up its own problems, and that's ultimately there's going to have to be a collectively bargained agreement between the players and the schools that addresses the freedom of movement, and and that opens up its own Pandora's box. But I do believe that collective bargaining will one day act to limit player movement. And it would look a little bit more like the pro leagues than everyone having a 1-year free agency deal. And I think the players will agree to that, assuming the players get other concessions that they want. That's how collective bargaining works. So we'll see. But I don't think it's going to be like it is forever. But it is like this now. Alabama has one choice, adapt or die. And Alabama has to do as best they can under the rules as they exist today. And so far, haven't been knocked out by the success of this portal window. But I do think there's time to rescue it. And adding guys like Ty Haywood, even Noah Rogers, the wide receiver from NC State I mentioned before. Look, Alabama's pretty set at wide receiver with Latsier Brooks and Ryan Williams and Rico Scott. But there's only 5. You have to have at least 10. They have to add like 4 or 5 receivers so they can get through the season. Now, that's going to be hard to do because all these kids want to be the guy, and Alabama's already kind of got that covered. What Alabama needs is wide receiver like 6 through 10. You're probably not talking about big names. Noah Rogers is a surprisingly big name considering what Alabama's needs are. This was a national top 100 player in the country that signed with Ohio State out of high school. Was at Ohio State 1 year, obviously looked at the other wide receivers in the room and felt like, okay, well, this isn't going to work out.
He was a 5-star, yeah.
Yeah, and he went to and then he went home to NC State where he's been good. He's been good. He's been productive and good. He was their 3rd leading receiver as a redshirt freshman, their 4th leading receiver as a redshirt sophomore. He would definitely help Alabama. Now, is he going to show up and take snaps from Ryan and Lottie? No, but Alabama's not looking for that nor looking to spend like that unless your name is Cam Coleman.
Really quickly before we get into basketball, speaking of Cam Coleman, I mean, for whatever reason, it's funny. Last night we were getting tweets from people. I was getting tweets that people were like, I'm feeling worse about Cam Coleman. Also, people were saying, I'm feeling better about Cam Coleman. I think I still feel it 25%. I think it's a 4-way tie at 25%, and it could go anywhere.
Yeah, I think this could go in any direction. I certainly don't rule out getting Cam Coleman, nor do I get optimistic about it. What happens, happens. I'm not as concerned about it as I am about offensive line recruiting, to be honest, because I think Alabama is a pretty good wide receiver no matter what happens with Cam. But it would be exciting to land a player of his talent. I do think that he gave Alabama a listen. He stayed longer than planned. He's got friends there. He's got a coach there that he trusts and likes, or he wouldn't have ever come to Tuscaloosa. And I think it would be fun, and it would make us feel infinitely better. And let's say Cam picks Alabama. While all of y'all wildly celebrate, I'm going to be the cold, wet towel, snap in the locker room to say, we don't have any offensive linemen. So how's this going to do us any good? And I hate to be that guy, but and if you don't get Cam Coleman, I'm going to be saying things like, well, I think Ty Haywood probably just as important, in terms of improving the football team. So, and again, none of that's to say that I'm minimizing how big a deal it would be to get Cam. If your wide receiver core is Cam Coleman, Ryan Williams, and Latsier Brooks, you probably have as good a wide receiver core as anybody in college football.
You know what's so funny, though? Isaiah Horton is the number 2 receiver in the portal, and he's probably going to end up at A&M is what it's looking like. I mean, it's just Isaiah Horton, just stay. You're I don't know. I give up. Well, we will see what happens there. I mean, an announcement could come at any time. So I hope we get him.
I'm guessing tomorrow. I'm just going to guess.
I think we need him for a perception standpoint. I mean, just a win, a fan-wide win.
It would feel like all of a sudden you've won the portal. But again, I want to say that there's other positions of greater need.
It'd be a Pyrrhic victory in a sense. Win the battle, lose the war potentially. But the war's not over. We still, maybe Cal Poly's got a few more guys that are getting the portal. Let's talk about Wayfair. Wayfair. The new year is here. It is the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home, you might as well love how it looks and feels. That's why you should turn to Wayfair. It's one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding to mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh. Wayfair is everything you need for a full home refresh, all in one place. Whether you're updating your living room, organizing your space, or upgrading your work from home setup, Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find exactly what works for your style and your budget. Look, get organized, get refreshed, and get back on track this new year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style and every home. Wayfair. Jimmy and I are going there. All right, Jimmy, I know you ran into some folks that I always like to give shout outs to people that come up and introduce themselves. I mean, it really is cool. I mean, because I was going with my daughter last night to the game, and my wife and my daughter brought a friend of hers. And like my wife and daughter have kind of gotten used to something, not saying like I'm just getting paparazzi snaps all the time, but when I go places, even if it's random places to dinner, somebody will come and say, "Hey, love the show." And like people are like, but then my wife and daughter are finally like, okay, he's some kind of weirdo, almost kind of pseudo celebrity at times. I mean, like the
C-list celebrity.
Yeah, they're like, he's a C, D, maybe even D- celebrity, and so we'll just deal with this. Like it's not pride that's beaming from their faces. Let me just tell you that, but it is pride that's beaming from mine, and I appreciate all of you. And I have to tweet myself. This is how old I am. I have to text myself the people's names, or I'll forget them. And last night there was Paul, who was walking down the steps, and he just randomly like noticed me, and I talked to Paul for a minute. And also a friend of Mike Southern, Asian Jimmy, named Jimmy. And so I texted Michael Southern because he was at the game, and I said, "I just met your friend Jimmy. No, not that one." And he came over, and then we spoke for a bit. Super nice guy. So appreciate all of them. Appreciate anybody. And Jimmy, you had some?
Yeah. Noah and Austin both talked to them before the game, and they're everyday listeners, and really appreciate those that support the show, that aren't just, "Hey, saw you one time." I mean, these are guys that watch the show every day, and really appreciated them introducing themselves, Noah and Austin. And sorry the game didn't go as we all wanted. We're going to talk about it right now.
Well, that's another thing is, man, this year just not starting off right in a lot of ways. And this Texas team, while I said, if you remember, I said yesterday, hey, Texas is better than you think, but we were 11.5-point favorite for a reason. A few things. We did not play very hard. Nate Oats said it. I think Nate Oats is 100% correct. We didn't play very well at all. We did challenge Bull Bowen to get out there and get some more boards. He got a double-double. I thought he played, of all the people, I thought he played the best. I thought even some of our coaching strategy was bad. Like at the end, with however many seconds left, we down 3, we decided to send Aiden Holloway in for a layup in the trees. I mean, I don't love that.
I wonder if that was Holloway and not the coaches, but I'm wondering.
Maybe.
Well, I wonder if it was like, if they said, okay, we want a 3 here, but if you got the 2, if you got the easy 2, take the 2. Holloway, I think, may have thought he had an easy 2. I don't know what he would have been thinking.
The 3 percentage was worse than you think because we hit a 3 late that really didn't matter. The free throw percentage was, I mean, it was super at first. We were like 7 of 8 to start out, and then it just seemed to fall off a cliff.
When it mattered, they couldn't make free throws.
Right. And on top of that, what I texted Asian Jimmy was, hey, man, we're at Mississippi State, then at Oklahoma, then a week off in Tennessee at home. And if we can't control Texas's Lithuanian big man who was elbowing us into oblivion, what are we going to do with Tennessee, who by the time we get to them, they will have created some kind of Lithuanian of their own in a lab or grown them like those sea monkeys that you used to get from the cat. You remember those sea monkeys from the comic books? They would say you order them, you put them in water, and then they grow, and they had little, like they look like little tiny seals with like crowns and stuff on them.
Wasn't that the movie Gremlins?
Yeah, they were kind of like Gremlins, but they were actually in the back of these comic books, and they might still sell them. I don't know. If they do sell them, maybe we could buy a bunch of them, put them in one big pot, and make an offensive lineman. There might solve your transfer portal problem. But yeah, this team, man, I'm not. Nobody's given up on this team. I did get some texts and I saw some tweets last night about how everything about Alabama is soft right now. I saw some person on a message board saying the Nate Oats experiment is over. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why do we have to? We can be disappointed and not blow it all up. Can we do that? I mean, Nate Oats has brought us more fame and glory than any coach ever has. Shut up and let him do his thing.
Yeah. If the question is, do we let Nate walk out the door or build a statue and rename the Coliseum after him? I'm going with the statue in the Coliseum. I mean, that's just crazy talk. We can't treat each basketball loss like it's a football loss. I think that's what happens around here quite a bit. I mean, I think we're so used to the football success, and when there is a football loss, it literally does feel like the Titanic has hit the iceberg again. But basketball is different. There's going to be losses every year, regardless. We said before the season started, me and Luke Rader said we might have a few more losses than what we've had in recent years, because this team is going to struggle to rebound the ball. I don't think rebounding was necessarily the issue last night, though it wasn't helpful. It wasn't the issue. I agree. I think there was a lack of urgency, a lack of juice, and I can't help but wonder with Philon and his dehydration issue, and then Philon last night looking like he didn't have his normal burst. I can't help but wonder if he's been ill. And maybe a few guys are now. Nate's never going to make an excuse over that, but they just played like they're all getting over a cold, frankly. I don't think what happened last night is going to matter if you win at Mississippi State. If you win at Mississippi State and you win at Oklahoma, then last night doesn't matter so much. But you put yourself in a position, though, by losing a winnable home game that you're going to have to steal one on the road that maybe you shouldn't. And if you want to win the league, and I do think this team is still capable of doing that. I want to say it's a one-off. We just can't say that yet until we see more.
Yeah, I think winning, I hate to be so down on everything. I don't think winning the league is an option anymore. I don't believe that. I've just seen some other teams. I like Texas A&M, for example. I just don't think winning the league's an option for this squad. And I'm okay with that. That doesn't bother me. I would love to win it, but we have always said it's about getting in the tournament. Excuse me. For instance, you're talking about Oklahoma coming up. Guess who's playing well for Oklahoma right now?
Darion Reed?
No, Muhammad Wagi. That's who I noticed the most. He was really in the trenches fighting a lot with that AG kid from A&M. And Wagi still can't shoot, but he gets in there and fights. And that's what we're missing. I was thinking last night, part of me was like, well, we're still so beat up. Latrell Wright's in street clothes again. That's a lingering thing that won't go away. Not that he would have been the difference. I think he certainly would have helped last night. I think he's worth 4 points. But then I was also thinking, well, even if we were healthy, I mean, it's still Bo Bowen, Aiden Sherrill, and Noah Williamson. That's our interior.
Bristow, a little bit. I mean, Bristow.
I'm taking Bristow out of the equation, Jimmy. I'm going to tell you, I like Keaton Bristow. I liked him a lot more at the beginning of the year. I felt like the effort was really the hustle points, the hard hat stuff. I thought he had it. Last night, I just didn't see it, and he was getting abused on the interior. Texas did a really good job of making it where, like, if we went small, they went big immediately and then dominated inside. And that Volanakakis or whatever his name was, that can't be how to say it. He had Bristow on him a couple of times and just ate his lunch. Now, it's 7 feet against whatever Bristow is and 125 pounds difference probably. But, Bristow's – his game's got to pick up. And then the other thing –
they all do.
Well, here's the other thing. Can somebody tell me why on earth the officials never gave Sean Miller a technical for being on the court constantly? Like, he was literally a part of the game.
I brought that up a few times. He not only doesn't stay in the coach's box, he's on the court. I mean, on the court sometimes. And I don't understand that. But I didn't understand a lot of the officiating. That's not why Alabama lost. Alabama lost because of a lack of urgency, a lack of juice, and I would say lack of effort. I mean, if you go out there and play the University of Texas with no effort, the score is going to be 90-20. There wasn't enough effort. There wasn't enough juice. And Phylon, he's the superstar of this team, and for whatever reason, right now he doesn't have it. But I know he'll get it back quickly. And let's not forget we are the same team that was ranked for a reason, and that I think ESPN recently said there was a 100% chance Alabama would be in the NCAA tournament. Maybe they spoke a little too soon, but no, this is still a really good basketball team, and I think they're going to prove it again shortly. The schedule's tough because the league's tough. Mississippi State beat Texas at Texas, and that's where we play Tuesday night in Starkville at 8:00.
And but on the flip side, Wisconsin, unranked Wisconsin, went into Michigan and beat Michigan, a team that everybody felt was unbeatable. So again, I'm not mad necessarily that we lost. I'm mad at the effort. I'm concerned with some of our own strategy. And I'm also, another thing that concerns me, please, nobody take this out of context. I'm not saying officials did anything. What I'm saying is, for the second game in a row now, an Alabama basketball game lasted almost 3 hours. Yeah. That's unacceptable. That's got to stop. I don't know what to do about it, though.
The review situation is they've got to come up with a better idea than what it is. It's crazy that basketball is lasting as long as baseball games.
It's stupid. And when you start the game at 7, and I come down there with 2 9-year-olds from Birmingham, we didn't get back to the house until almost 11 o'clock. Something's, when we left at 5:30, something's wrong with that. That just can't be. And the official, Doug Schowles, was there last night. He's so bad. I mean, he's just not a good official. We know this. And how he keeps being employed, I guess the SEC has nowhere else to go. But he's always in the middle of some stupid kind of, I felt like Sean Miller kept talking to him all night. I was like, hey, why don't you just tee him up? Because he kept looking at him like, one more thing and I'm going to tee you up. Okay, now one more thing. Now one more thing. Just tee him up. But anyway. All right. That's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.